Leftover women in China are suffering. This is the reality that a lot of women are now facing themselves around the world. It's an unfortunate reality, but it's something that we have to be aware of. It's getting horrible over there. You have women who are almost 40 years old demanding $800,000 in dowries. Oh, I want $800,000 before I will allow you to marry me, or $700,000 before I will allow you to marry me. Or there's some budgets over there's some women who are offering a deal over there of only 80,000 United States dollars, and then you will have the honor of marrying them. So it ranges right now from as little as 80,000 United States dollars to as much as almost 1 million United States dollars to marry a woman in China, where $20,000 a year is a considerably good wage. This is madness that's occurring over there right now. There's a massive number of women who are not married. They will never have children, and China does not have a social security system like they have in Western society. There's extreme crippling poverty in China, and they're essentially doing things like turning like bugs into meal and using chemicals to create food and passing it off as real food. They fake everything. They fake everything. This is why some of the buildings collapse in China, because the parts, the materials that they use are like literally like sand. They do this type of thing in Mexico as well, and that's why you end up with structures collapsing. And this is what's happening in China right now. So while on one hand it's like, oh my gosh, they just built skyscrapers in a couple of months. On the other hand, that skyscraper was built with like dirt and rubble, and it's not concrete, and it's not going to stand. It's not going to stand. Or sometimes it's not even like concrete. They build it using sticks, and they just kind of like they kind of just like pave over it to make it look like it's a wall. Like there's concrete there. There's no concrete there. It's just sticks, and not even good sticks either. All right, we're like talking about like borderline sticks from the street, borderline sticks from the street, sticks and stones, and then these things, these structures end up collapsing. So China's in bad shape right now, and the women in the country are in terrible shape. Men are walking away in China. There are some men in China who are also going overseas to find wives in other countries, including in Africa. This is crazy, but that's the reality, and it was only a matter of time. Men from other countries, men in like Australia, men in the United States, men in the UK and Canada, they've been doing this for a long time. So we're seeing the whole passport bro movement taking off, and now you have Chinese men who are beginning to say, okay, yeah, well, I'm just going to go overseas and find a woman overseas, and maybe I might not even come back. China's actually responding to this by taking away a lot of passports as well. So they're actually confiscating passports because people are trying to flee the country. Because not only is it getting very bad in terms of the situation with finding a partner, but also the value of the currency is struggling. People are living in extreme poverty, and as a result they are confiscating passports, confiscating bank accounts, confiscating so many, and silencing people. They don't want people to see the extremely rich or the extremely poor. They want to make it look like China's like one great big utopia. And of course, you have to remember, even though China has an element of democracy in their economy, it is still controlled by the CCP, which is the Chinese Communist Party. Let's go ahead and jump right into the video and see learn more about what's happening in China with the leftover ladies.
Girls, do you know what it's like to be 36, unmarried, and without a boyfriend? It's not the independent, clear-headed heroine you might imagine. In reality, I'm afraid of dating, afraid of relationships, and I can't even think about marriage. It's not because I'm not trying or that I'm not good enough. I have a master's degree, started a business, and bought a house. But when it comes to marriage, I feel weak. I've gone on many blind dates, and just the thought of being judged for my age makes me not want to go out again. If I meet someone I like and we get along well, if I show any temper, they'll say, "You're not young anymore. If you still don't understand things and need me to coax you, why am I with you?" Because of my age, many things become intolerable. So maybe love is something for the younger years, and if possible, it's best to enter marriage when you're young. The TikTok user Rice Kernel is a woman from Hangzhou. On June 15th, she posted a video expressing regret for not getting married in her 20s. Previously, she posted a video complaining that even with a master's degree, it wasn't until she was 28 that she realized that standing, older single men wouldn't be interested in her. Now, the ones pursuing her are single men from rural areas, and she feels she can only marry into the countryside. This comment resonated with many single women, both domestically and abroad. Media interviewed her, and it turns out her surname is Lee, and she's actually only 36. She responded saying, "In 2 more years, I definitely won't be able to have kids. I've been on 5 blind dates, but none were suitable." As for why she lied about her age, many netizens believe she's using the topic of older single women to gain attention. Some think her actions may have been a marketing angle. I'm a single woman born in 1988 with a master's degree from a top university. Recently, I've begun to feel like I might be able to accept dating someone who's divorced and has a child. I used to think this was the last thing I'd compromise on, but now I've realized that loneliness is more terrifying than anything else. Lately, my world feels silent and empty, as if there's no sound at all, and it will always be this way. It feels like I'm afraid to make a sound because any noise would echo back and scare me. I don't know how long this loneliness will last. In early June, Rice Kernel posted a video revealing her true feelings. Although she appears strong and independent on the surface, deep down she harbors an inexplicable loneliness and feels melancholy about her fading youth. Most older single women have high education, high income, and high intelligence, and are attractive. However, their high standards in choosing a partner often leave them without an ideal match, turning them into what's called leftover women. Rice Kernel might be using the sensitive topic of leftover women to draw attention to this group, thereby increasing her exposure and influence. In this light, her actions can be seen as a brave stand and form of self-affirmation. I'm a bit sad now because I've suddenly realized that it's easy for older girls to have a car and a house, but finding love is really hard. Even though I don't want to accept it, I can't fight it. No matter how beautiful, educated, or nice you are, when you enter the dating market, you'll be held back by your age. I thought my hard work and effort would allow me to be with someone I love, but to my surprise, when I finally had a car and a house, as an older woman, I was just someone others would judge and weigh the pros and cons of. I felt like all my efforts in my younger years would have been better spent dating. I have a friend who dated a girlfriend 2 years older than him. He told me he was the picky one in the relationship, while she was very accommodating. Now he has a new girlfriend who is 5 or 6 years younger than him. When he showed me her picture, I was shocked. She smokes, drinks, and parties, which is very different from his previous standards. I asked him how he could accept this now. He said because she's younger, he's more tolerant of her. Hearing this, I cried. It made me feel so sad. In the video, the Douyin user named Tian Yao Yao is a gentle, understanding, and beautiful older woman. However, despite reaching the age of marriage and dating, she struggles to find a suitable partner. She observes that many men consider a woman's age as a crucial factor when choosing a partner. They tend to prefer younger women who are perceived as more fertile.
Now, this is interesting. Women are angry at men for wanting to have kids. So these women who are many of them admit that they are now at the point where they will no longer be able to have children, are furious that men want to have kids, and these are the same women that are demanding large dowries. China cannot sustain these women. Let me explain this to you. The situation in China is much worse than the situation in the US. In the US, these women have a welfare state. And while the welfare state will not be able to shoulder the burden of all the women who are going to be in extremely bad shape in the coming years in the US, no. In China, it's much, much worse. As soon as they begin experiencing a massive, they're already having an economic downturn where people can't find work. And when it gets worse, once we enter into a global depression or economic meltdown, which is where we're going, because all of these countries have large amounts of debt themselves. Guys, everyone is selling debt to everyone else. Everyone is selling debt to everyone else. I want you to think about that. No one can pay their bills. It's not just the United States that's been selling debt to pay their bills. Everyone's been selling debt to everyone else, and no one's asking questions. China has their own debts. They're selling their debts to someone else, and someone else is selling their debts to someone else. All right? And they're paying debt using debt. It's madness. It's absolute madness. So it's going to be a global economic meltdown. And the crazy thing is that this BRICS currency will likely end up it is going to be the new world reserve currency. More than likely, it's gonna because it's going to be the currency that is backed by gold, silver, and other precious metals. And it's not just one company guaranteeing it, it's multiple different companies. Not one country guaranteeing it, it's multiple different countries. And it's less centralized than the United States dollar or the yuan or any of these other currencies out there. So this is really it. This is really it. It's going to be crazy. And when you have this economic meltdown in China, where people are already struggling, you're going to have mass homelessness. You're going to have all of these women who are going to be suffering. The Chinese government can't really do much. Oh, men go save society. No, all the Chinese government will do is basically cover up as much of it as possible and show China as being prosperous and having a wonderful economy, as millions of people potentially expire from hunger, or from self-control deletion. This is how they operate. It's going to be hell over there. Absolutely hell. It's pretty bad right now because people are not finding work. Men are you can if the best job you can get, and when I say the best right now, is working as a delivery driver. And many places you can't even get a job as a delivery driver anymore. You have all these PhD graduates try to fighting for delivery driver jobs, and you can't even get one just like that. You have to know someone or bribe someone, or you have to know someone and that knows someone, and then bribe the person that the person knows. Like, welcome to reality. All right, this is how sick society is today. And these little Gen Zers, they're so messed up. These are like over in in the U.S. they did the whole quietly quitting thing. They're done with the whole 9 to 5, and now they're stealing packages and saying that they're stealing packages. Stealing from stores. Like sleeping and farting all day long. In China, these idiots are laying flat. And they'll work for, like, if they work, they'll work for like a cup for like a just for a single day, take the money and then quit the job and then live off the money for like to buy cheap food in China, and then they'll just live like this. Is what the Gen Zers are doing over there. They'll work for a single day, get the money from that one day of work, and then live off that money because they can buy cheap food, chill at an internet cafe, and then once they have no more money, then they'll go look for another job and work another single day. And this is how they live, and they just sleep in the streets. They just sleep in the streets. There's a specific name for these terrible individuals. These. Ay 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 ay. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the content on this channel and you want even more of this content, consider checking out the Men Walking Away channel, which is linked in the description of the video. I release daily videos on that channel. So if you want even more content like Angry Guy, like the content on the Angry Guy channel, check out Men Walking Away. There's a link to it in the description of the video. Check it out, subscribe to the channel, enjoy the content. So yeah, I mean, as you can see, these leftover women, they're suffering. And it's like they're quite delusional. They're absolutely delusional. And the crazy thing is that as men, we spend most of our lives lonely. We like women don't know. Most women do not know what it's like to truly be lonely because they just open up an app and they go and find a man immediately. When men are moving away, men are men are walking away, and all these women have is like turning to degenerate platforms like OnlyFools, LonelyFans, to go deal with men who really just don't like them and want them to degrade themselves for a little bit of money. The average OnlyFools model, they're calling themselves creators now. They only make less than $500 a month. That's what the average OnlyFools model makes. And they're calling themselves creators. They're acting like it's the new YouTube. And they're like, it makes me so confident. Like, bro, you will never be able to find another job ever again. And a real job. They have no financial literacy. And all of these women are going to end up in extreme poverty. Extreme poverty. Guys, what do you think regarding this? Because I think it's just downright sad and pathetic. But this is just the reality that we are now entering into, and it's not going to get any better. We're facing a massive economic downturn. I've said it. The petrodollar is done. It doesn't exist anymore. Saudi Arabia is no longer using the U.S. dollar, accepting U.S. dollar as the reserve currency for the world. They're moving over to BRICS. Turkey is moving to BRICS. All of these countries are moving over to BRICS. you know, which is and it's insane. It's insane, and it. I've said it, it's not going to get any better. You're going to have a surplus, a multitude of these of women who are older now. They have no retirement. Men are no longer will supplement their living, and men are not. A man with no love for family or country has no dogs in the fight. In the U.S., in other countries, men will just live simple lives of luxury and comfort. And if they start overtaxing men will just reduce their spending. The average man will live, can live in a shoebox at the side of the road, happily in a shoebox at the side of the road, and that's where we're going. When the Roman Empire was beginning to collapse, one of the Caesars, he said that the men who would not marry were worse than all of the criminals in all of Rome, and they punished these men. They were not allowed to go to any public events like the Colosseum, and during the winter they had to run in the streets chain gang style to punish them for not taking wives, and even then they still wouldn't get married. And as these men began refusing to marry and have children, because this all began happening after no fault divorce, the Roman the men stopped entering into the military, and the quality of the men deteriorated so much that the Roman Empire began hiring mercenaries, because these men had no dogs in the fight. The men in their empires, they no longer wanted to protect the nation. And if you tried to force them to serve in the military, you wouldn't get very good results. But you know eventually the Roman Empire became really poor. They had no money because the men in the country weren't producing anything anymore. And these mercenaries, they realized that the emperor had no clothes. He was broke when he started offering up land, like, oh hey, I'll pay you in land. And they pillaged the entire empire, which is essentially all of Europe, fell, and we entered into 1,000 years of darkness, known as the Dark Ages, where basically people were living in caves again and eating squirrel meat, until math and science were rediscovered roughly 1,000 years later. Think about this, guys. We would literally be in the future right now. There's a thing called Road to the Multiverse, like in a Family Guy, if you watch Family Guy. And in one of the episodes, they traveled to another universe where the Dark Ages never happened, so they were 1,000 years ahead. But keep in mind, we're actually moving faster than that in terms of the evolution of technology. So if we imagine, and they also had access, the Roman Empire had the history of human knowledge behind them. Okay, they had so much knowledge. They had knowledge that we have lost. Okay, so they had all this stuff that we don't have now. They Only God knows where they would be. Like, we would forget it, guys. Maybe we'd be in another universe by now. Maybe we'd be able to actually communicate directly with God. Who knows? But you know what? But how did this end up happening? Women. They tore down the Roman Empire, no fault divorces, divorcing their husbands, running off and marrying gladiators, Chad and Tyrone. Guys, what do you think regarding this whole leftover women crisis? They're in China, they're suffering in China, and honestly, it's only going to get worse. Let me know your thoughts. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA and walking away. And cheers.